Morning, my name's Simon. Welcome to Bennett's Bike Social. Welcome to Barcelona in the rain, and welcome to the launch of Honda's 2022 NT1100.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are doing the first few miles on Honda's 2022 NT1100. Now, the NT is the latest in a long and distinguished line of sports tourers from Honda. You don't have to think too hard to think of bikes like, well, the VFR 750 and 800, the CBF 1000, and even bikes like the Deauville, or DeVille, which was of course an NT itself, but an NTV. So basically all the NTs stands for New Touring, by the way. Everything in Honda, every acronym has a meaning. New Tourer, NT, everything up to now was a V, NTV. NTV 650, the Revere, I don't know if anybody remembers that. Yeah, and of course the DeVille. So NT1100 is fairly straightforward to explain. Once again, this is quite simple. In terms of the actual spec and what it is, it's an Africa Twin engine, which is parallel twin, 270-degree crank, 1084cc, 100 horsepower at 9,250 RPM, 77, quite a healthy 77 foot-pounder torque at 6,250 RPM, and it is identical. It is the same engine. They haven't changed cam timing. They've changed nothing. It is an Africa Twin. I'll get into the actual kind of what the engines like to use in a minute, in case you've never ridden an Africa Twin. But more Africa Twinism comes in the frame. This is an Africa Twin frame, literally. They have a few brackets that have changed. For example, the radiator on the NT is a single radiator mounted quite high up, as opposed to a split twin radiator on the Africa Twin. But apart from bracketry, it is an Africa Twin steel frame. It's even got a bolt-on aluminium subframe, as per the Africa Twin. So what distinguishes this really from the Africa Twin is all the bits that make it a road bike, which is 17-inch wheels front and rear, 150mm suspension travel front and rear. It's got Showa big piston forks, and it's got a Showa rear shock. They're both adjustable only for preload. There's no semi-active option. There's no option to twiddle the damping. It is what you get. And then you've of course got the riding position, which is actually, it's a bit Africa Twinish actually. It's like a lower version of Africa Twin. It's very comfortable. It's very obvious riding position. I'll get onto ergonomics in a minute, but there's lots of room, lots of space. Very natural, typical Honda. You get on it and you go, oh well, that fits, and that's the last time you think about it. And then there's the styling, which is styled by a gentleman in Rome who works for Honda called Maurizio Carbonara. It's not a name you'd forget in a hurry. He was also responsible for, well, actually for the last Africa Twin, and also responsible for the XADV adventure scooter. So this is one of his babies. And you also have, of course, Africa Twin electronics to a degree. Now, the Africa Twin comes with a 6-axis IMU. This doesn't, but it does have the Africa Twin's TFT dash, and it also has the Africa Twin's multitude of buttons and switches to play with. It comes with all the same functions. You can tailor rider modes. You have touring mode and an urban mode and a couple of custom modes, rain mode. You have 3 levels of kind of dash information. This is the most expansive. It's fairly easy to change modes. There's a lot of depth there if you want it, but you can customize it so the stuff that you really want to adjust is easily accessible on a couple of buttons. And it's, you know, I mean, people have criticised the Honda for saying the display and the buttons are overcomplicated, and there's no getting away from it. They are complicated. Again, it's one of those things, you know, you're not going to walk into a showroom wanting to buy an Africa Twin, wanting to buy an NT1100 and then saying, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to buy it because it's too complicated. don't think that's going to happen. It's just part of the pros and cons when you're weighing up about what kind of bike you want. What else are we talking about? So just rattling through it real super quick. In terms of seat height, we're talking an 820mm seat height, which is pretty low. It's very comfortable. There is a comfort seat option, which is the same height. There are no low and high seat options. 820 is what it is. It's quite a wide seat, but boy, it does feel comfortable. Even the standard seat that I'm on now, you jump on it and it sort of compresses a little bit. It feels a bit like memory foam. It's really, really nice. There's a nice resistance to it, but it's not spongy, and it's not too soft. So I suspect, even though we haven't been riding very far at the moment, that it will not be a problem. So yeah, let's just run through the kind of the spec. Oh wait, 238 kilos, same as an Africa Twin Adventure Sport. She's not exactly a lightweight. There is some mass to this, but we have got some really agile, neutral, nimble steering. But again, I'll get on to how the bike feels in a minute. So yes, tank size 20.4 litres, which is plenty big enough. Given the Africa Twin Parallel Twin is quite a frugal engine, the NT should be getting a good 180-200 miles. I haven't actually worked it out yet, but there should be plenty of tank range in a 20-litre tank as opposed to a 19 or even a 17-litre. Other sports tourers like Suzuki's GSXS GT take note. So let's talk about what this bike actually comes with in terms of its kind of spec level, and it's pretty good. We have got, as standard, a 5-way adjustable screen, which you can adjust while you're moving, but it's pretty stiff. There we go, 2 hands and stand forward. Now that is pretty upright for a screen. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the old Pan-European, because that thing used to, well, had electric screen to start off with, but it used to zoom sort of right, bolt upright. So does this fella, and if I get down, I am completely enclosed, which is quite cool if you're doing a long run at night and you just want to get your head down and listen to some music and not have to compete with the wind blast. Let me just try and push it down. There we go. Oh, it's a bit of an effort, but hey. So there we go. So we've got this adjustable screen. These little wind deflectors here come as standard, which is really cool. And if you look down here, we've got a bit of weather protection for your feet as well, which is pretty cool. Again, standard. Also standard, heated grips. And I can tell you, although it's not, what is it, 11 degrees, so it's not exactly cold, they do feel pretty warm. They feel warmer than the Africa Twin grips, which, as anybody who's got an Africa Twin and ridden it in 0 degrees will tell you, are really not hot enough. So that's a good thing. What else have we got in terms of spec? Well, let's just quickly talk about the transmission. So this is, you'll notice from the absence of the clutch, this is and the handbrake here, this is a DCT bike, which adds, I think it adds 10 kilos and it adds £1,000 to the price. I'll just quickly mention the price. The standard bike is, well, we stop here and wait for people to catch up, is 11,999, so it's basically 12 grand for the base bike. But look, they've even named it after me. That was nice of them. That's sigh. Cheers, guys. Which is a good price for this spec level. I mean, that's kind of competitive with the GSXS GTs and the Ninja SXs, and it's even competitive with Yamaha's Tracer 9 GT, which in terms of spec is kind of where this bike is at. Anyway, the manual transmission version of this doesn't come with a quick shifter. The Tracer GT does, but the screen is better than the Tracer GTs. Also with the clocks you can do, arguably the clocks are better than the Tracer 9 GTs, and you could, you've got Android CarPlay, whatever that is, I don't know, you can put your maps on here with your phone. You have a 12-volt socket here, you have a USB port here. So yeah, in terms of spec level, they're pretty good. This bike also comes with a centre stand, so that's included in the price as well, which isn't always the case these days. I'm just trying to think if I've missed anything in terms of spec. Let's get this thing rolling. DCT is not always the easiest thing to paddle around. So that's the spec level, that's the price, but you can, oh, it also comes with panniers, I nearly forgot. That's the other great advantage of the standard bike. You know, everybody except the Tracer NT, Tracer NT, everybody except the Tracer 9 GT, the panniers are extra, £1,000 extra. Not with the Honda. As per the Tracer, they come as standard. So, what else have we got? So I think that's it. So I'll give you a quick impression. Oh, we're on Metzler Roadtech 01 tyres as well, which are really good in the wet. It's so nice to ride a launch bike, and you know, with OE tyres that are pretty decent. Oh, the road appears to be drying out. So yeah, it's been wet this morning, so a quick riding impression before we crack on. You know, one of the big questions is it a sports tourer? And I think it's a sports tourer because Noniyama-san, who was responsible for developing, he was the project leader for the handling and stability of the bike, has got an international race license and lists his favourite pastime as sporty riding. So this bike has got a sporty handling dynamic. It's not particularly stiffly sprung, but it's nicely damped. It steers with a beautiful neutrality. It's really pleasing. It's got great grip, it's got great agility. So it can be ridden in a sporty manner. Admittedly, the engine comes from an adventure bike, but you know, 100 horsepower, 77 foot-pound of torque. Oh, I would imagine there are riders that could show me a clean pair of heels no matter what I was riding. I could be on a Desmo Sedici or something and they'd clear off. So it's plenty. Anyway, let's do a bit more of this riding and come back to you with a conclusion after a few more miles.
Crazy days riding in these amazing roads just north of Barcelona in the mountains. Constant changes of direction, beautiful tarmac, slightly dodgy because it's wet, but yeah, you know what, the grip is incredible. Don't know whether to look at the scenery or the road. It's just brilliant riding. A great place to test the sporting credentials of a motorbike, and Honda's NT1100 has got sporting credentials. Right, I've been through the spec. I think we know basically this is a road-going Africa Twin for all intents and purposes. So let's just talk about those riding impressions. Let's talk about getting on the bike. The first thing we feel, it's a cliche, but Hondas often just fit human beings. Doesn't matter what size you are, what shape you are, you get on the bike and it just feels natural. Nothing gets out of place. These handlebars, they're not clip-ons, you don't have to reach forward too far, but there is a slight cant forward to your riding position. But it feels instantly intuitive. When you first pull away, the bike has a natural balance. It has that classic Honda low centre of gravity, as if the engine is right between your knees. And as soon as you pull away, you can just feel the bike has this, like I say, this intuitive sense of balance. You know that you can pull it around at super low speed, just riding the rear brake and letting the thing just guide itself. And as soon as you begin to just sway the bike from side to side, it has that lovely sports touring rolling feeling, like the best sports tourers, just gently throwing it from side to side. So it feels very, very natural straight away. That's good. The suspension feels really plush too. Immediately, again, there's no harshness through it. It's unadjustable, there's no semi-active option. I guess that's one of the places that Honda have trimmed the cost on this bike to keep the price where it is. And it is really reasonably priced, I think, for what you get. But it has that lovely kind of standard feeling of quality. You hit bumps, you hit ripples, nothing makes the bike move around. 238 kilos, it's not exactly a lightweight. You compare it to something like Tracer 9 GT from Yamaha. That bike has a really light, flickable, as soon as you get on it, you just think, yeah, this thing's up for mischief. You get on the Honda, you don't feel like that. You don't feel mischievous. What you do feel is comfortable, at home, civilized, sane. All those kind of nice Honda words. It's not a criticism, it's kind of, that's just what it is. So then you pull away. This bike's a DCT version. DCT, ever so clever. It's not my cup of tea, but I totally understand why it is some people's cup of tea, and that's fine. And then as soon as you get on the gas and give it some go, it's got some legs. This engine is a perky little motor. Now, I know out of the Z1000SX and Suzuki's GSX S1000 GT, that's 150, the Kawasaki's 140 bhp, the Tracer 9 GT is 113 horsepower, so out of those bikes, this is the least powerful. That 100 horsepower is definitely not the feistiest motor in terms of its performance outright, but it is a fun engine. It has got some go in it. Certainly enough to get a tramp on. A good rider on one of these will easily outride a mediocre rider on a GSX S1000 GT, despite there being 50 horsepower difference. We know that. It's about the rider. So what else have we got? We've got decent basic suspension. We've got a great engine. Once you get going, the riding position is super comfortable. This seat, 820mm. You can get a comfort seat option, which is the same height. There is no low or high seat options. It's quite wide, so it feels low, but it's also got some width to it, which is good because when you're just sitting on the bike, you don't feel any immediate pressure points. And this feels almost like memory foam. It's kind of, it's not spongy, it's not soft, but it's not super hard either. I think this is a really good seat. And then you've also got this wind protection. This screen, 5 positions, it's quite stiff to move, fair enough, but how upright is that? I mean, that does remind me of the old Pan-European where it's almost vertical. And if 6 foot, if I just dip my head, I'm looking through the screen and you have this pool of still air here, which sometimes you kind of want when you're doing like big miles on a motorway. It's quite cool. On roads like this, you have the thing down all the time so you can see over it. But look, on its low setting, it's kind of almost level with this little screen protector here. So comfort, it's enhanced as well. These wind deflectors, normally they're an extra, standard on this bike, and you have these sort of foot shields here just to keep the wind off your feet. And the rain off your feet. I've got vented Supertex on. It was raining this morning. It felt fine, didn't feel chilly, didn't feel wet. So yeah, again, sort of that mark of super Honda civility. Just super, super civilized. And if we get to spec level, this bike is really well spec'd for its price, 11,999, 12 grand, and you get your 32 and 33 litre panniers, and you get your heated grips, and you get your cruise control. You don't get a quick shifter on the manual version like you do on the Tracer, but you can get that for a few £100, I think it is. You've got your USB ports, you've got your adjustable screen, you've got your centre stand. It's not shaft drive. It's not shaft drive because it's an Africa Twin engine and it's an Africa Twin frame, to re-engineer the transmission to get a shaft drive out of this thing would put the price through the roof. It wouldn't be feasible. You could do it, but you'd have to pay more for it. And to be honest, the way it handles and the way it steers, I don't know, it's just kind of, it's not the kind of bike that you really want a shaft drive. Again, especially when you're talking 100 horsepower, because then you're sapping 20 of it straight away with a shaft. So it's chain drive, that's what you got, but you do get your centre stand. So that's a pretty good spec, and for 12 grand, that puts it around about, I think it undercuts slightly the Tracer 9 GT. So what else can we talk about? I think there are packs available. You can get the top box, you can get fog lamps for it, or they all cost a little bit extra. But as a basic package, this fella is pretty good. I even think it's quite good looking as well. I mean, the colour is a bit of a shame. I mean, this sort of silver is okay. Sorry, the bike's a bit grubby, but I say the roads have been a bit mucky. Yeah, the silver's a bit kind of dull, and there's a black and there's a white bike. I mean, if there was a colourful one, that would be nicer. But we're really splitting hairs when we're criticising colours of a bike. There you go. That is Honda's NT1100. There'll be a more comprehensive and considered review on bikesocial.co.uk. Please leave comments down below and I'll answer them if I can. For me, I think 2022 is going to be the year of the sports tourer. It's going to be interesting to see how this fares against Suzuki's GSX S1000 GT, Honda's Ninja SX and Tracer 9 GT from Yamaha, and maybe throw a few curveballs in there as well. It's kind of got, it's not as mischievous as the Tracer, it's not as outright powerful as the Kawasaki and the Suzuki. It has got that Honda civility. It will boogie if you push it. So for me, I think it's a good choice for people who are looking for that sense of Honda durability, reliability, civility. Get it out of the garage, ride it in any weather. It's always there for you. It's always comfy. Everything works the way it should. I think if you're looking for something that's going to blow your socks off, you're probably better off looking at the Tracer 9 GT, because that blows my socks off every time I ride it. But I'm not damning the Honda, it's just a different kind of character you get from the bike. It's a different kind of feel. And for many people, it's going to be just what they wanted. And it fits right into that long line of Honda sports tourers with the VFRs and the CBF 1000s and even the NTVs, the DeVilles. The NT1100 deserves to be in that group. So there we go. That's Honda's 2022 NT1100. Thank you very much for watching. It's basically a road-going Africa Twin to all intents and purposes. Crazy. We'll have one more go and then we'll pack it up.